Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of whatever this podcast is called. I'm your host, Raymond, but the homies call me Ray. This episode all about something called the Spanish Civil War. We got special appearances from Kev and Isaiah later in the episode, but for now, I'll let my dog Rudy take over and explain why this came about.
Hi, I'm Rudy, and I'm here to talk about the causes of the war. So, beginning with the long-term causes of the Spanish Civil War, the political party of the Nationalists wanted to maintain traditional views in the country. This conflicted with the desires of the Republican Party, who wanted more power to be invested in the hands of the people, in which they did not favor the power that the Catholic Church and army had on its citizens. The army throughout the years and Spain's history in its entirety had been used unfairly. Additionally, the monarchy had immense influence in Spain, and the Republicans wanted change. Now, to move on to the socio-economic causes of the war, there was evident disparity in the wealth amongst the workers in Spain. 50% of all men were not involved in any form of work whatsoever. Half of Spain at this point was owned by about 50,000 individuals. Workers in the countryside were hit the hardest, being subjected to harsh working conditions and various periods of famine. This resulted in the life expectancy to plummet to a dreadful 35 years of age. Workers would also have to experience intimidation from the police force known as the Civil Guard that oftentimes was sent by the government. Now, I could keep going, but I'm going to give it to Isaiah to talk about the key people in the war.
Thank you, Rudy, for that special introduction. And like you said, I'm Isaiah, and I'm going to explain a couple key individuals. The first person I would like to start out with is Francisco Franco. He is the general for the Nationalists who led militarily and politically and would serve as dictator of Spain for 36 years following the war. The second person I would like to talk about is Alfonso XIII. He was the king of Spain before the war of 1886 and 1931. Once the monarchy had lost support, that forced him to be exiled. Another important person is Manuel Azaña, who was the prime minister of the Second Republic, who wanted to change much of the traditional ideals pertaining to the Catholic Church and the influence of the army. Next, we have Benito Mussolini, who provided support for nationalists with the CTV, which consisted of 70,000 men, 700 aircrafts, and 900 tanks. Alright, so I'm almost done. The next person is Adolf Hitler. He aided Franco as well as supplying him with immense artillery and personnel such as the Condor Legion. And lastly, we have Joseph Stalin, who assisted the Republicans by using tanks and planes, but forced them to pay gold reserves. But now that I'm done with that, yo, Ray, what happened in the war?
I'm glad you asked, Isaiah. This is a timeline of key events that took place in the duration of the war. The war started on July 17, 1936. At the outset of the war, Republican Spain held on to industrial areas and also held on to Madrid and Barcelona. The Nationalists had faced struggles in terms of leadership at the start of the war. Similarly, the Republicans faced issues with unity as well as leadership at the beginning of the war also. In terms of Western assistance, there was neutrality on the behalf of countries out west, such as the US and Britain. In October 1936, the Soviet Union began to provide weapons and experts to Republican Spain to combat the foreign aid the nationalists received from Italy and Germany. There were acts of terror towards citizens on both sides. The Red Terror began in 1936, where Republicans massacred around 38,000 to 100,000 people throughout the duration of the war. The White Terror came at the hands of the Nationalists, where they killed around 50,000 to 200,000 individuals. Moving forwards, in March 1937, the Battle of Guadalajara occurred, where the Nationalists were defeated by the Republicans. On June 10, 1937, the Nationalists were able to capture the city of Bilbao. Later that year, the Ebro Offensive took place from July 1938 to November of that same year, in which 80,000 Republican soldiers marched to Catalonia to try to push back the nationalist forces. Each side lost about 60,000 individuals in the battle, but ultimately the nationalists were victorious. On January 26, 1939, the nationalists captured Barcelona. Madrid was then captured on March 27th of that same year, ensuring the nationalist victory in the war. Now, Kev, my guy, the man, the myth, the legend, what was the role of foreign aid for both sides of the war?
My man Ray, thanks for the introduction. So the topic I'm going to go over is the impact of foreign involvement. So the nationalists were impacted in various ways by foreign aid. They benefited tremendously from the help of Italy and Germany, and the German Condor Legion was too much for the Republicans to handle and was vital in the nationalist success in the war. The Condor Legion helped decide outcomes of battles such as Guernica, Germa River, and the Ebro Offensive, and the Italian support rose from the connections between the two countries with each other, with artillery and personal beans issued by Mussolini.
Jesus Christ, can you kill someone already?
Wait, whoa, hold up, what the? Tell me why this dude sound like the old worm in the wheelchair from SpongeBob.
Boy, you're so trash, you should just quit the game.
Alright, buddy, listen up. I don't know who you're calling trash, but how do you sleep at night knowing that you're breathing in that big hole of your neck?
First of all, I don't know who you're calling, buddy. I'm a woman and the name's Ida.
Wait a minute, you're a woman? Jesus Christ, how many cigarettes did you smoke? And what kind of a name is Ida? More like I'd rather have a different name than that one, that's for sure. And we're back with this amazing podcast. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So looking at the other side, the Republicans also benefited from foreign reinforcements, but not as much as the nationalists. So Stalin had provided support for the Republicans by means of rifles, machine guns, and other artillery. And the Soviet tanks and aircrafts were also utilized by the Republicans throughout the war. And the international brigades helped the Republicans, but were not as effective.
All right, let's switch this game up.
Alright, so the next topic I'm going to go over is why the nationalists won. So for starters, the nationalist generals were more experienced, in which leadership was organized more efficiently than the Republicans. The aid also received.
Hey, Cup, my name is Mick Crop, dude. I come to play that game with the What's It To Ya, man. We about to get this #1 W.
Oh no, not another one.
For all my ancestors back in Wuhan. Wuhan came for life. Kick man line! Tang man! Ying! Come on, shoot! Reload! What are you doing? You're throwing! Come on!
Hostile!
Kick me out of China, man. 2011. Best game around town, China. You know, now I'm in the States. Come here to dominate. Win Warzone. Know how it do, baby?
Alright, so back to what I was saying. So the aid that Germany and Italy received overpowered much of the foreign aid that
Oh my goodness, we in Costco do 3 for 5 toilet paper deal. I need to buy.
The side was divided where political conflict arose, which means that the Republicans were forced to become defensive throughout the entirety of the war.
Oh man, what the hell? I killed him. I shoot the bullet. The bullet don't work. Oh man, what the hell?
One eternity later.
Man, you better clutch.
Why, baby, I'm Clutch Master in Gulag. Watch this.